going on YouTube? Craftbeergamer here, bringing you guys another video. And in today's video, it's going to be a little something different. This gameplay that you're seeing right now is a pre-recorded set of gameplays that I had on Fortnite. Because today I wanted to be a little more one-on-one with you guys and be able to focus on what I'm actually talking to you guys about today. So today we're going to do a little beer vocabulary. It's basically going to be beer vocabulary you're going to be hearing me use in my videos, in my streams, so on. Now there's going to be some stuff that I don't cover in this, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But first I'm going to start out with a beer, because obviously we need a beer to drink while we're talking about beer. So today we are going to be drinking Deschutes Brewery, their Dissident Ale, or The Dissident. It's a 2016 beer. It's a pretty cool label. And as you can see, it says 2016 Reserve there. So I'll read you the description that Untapped has. This is going to be kind of the more, you know, what it actually the brewery says it is. So the Dissident is a Oud Bruin, O-U-D-B-R-U-I-N, a distinctive Flanders style sour brown ale, man if I could talk today, with a heavenly aroma and flavor. Our first wild yeast beer we used with Brettanomics and local cherries to give the Dissident its characteristic sour taste. Our stiffest brewing challenge, it must be fermented in isolation from our other beers for a full 22 months, partly in a French oak wine barrel. So with that, the label does say the Dissident ale brewed with cherries, 40% aged in French oak wine barrels. Excuse me, I got a little dry spell in my throat here. So basically what that is saying is it's a cherry sour aged in French oak wine barrels. And we'll get into more of the other stuff a little bit later. But to kind of start out with this, we might as well crack it open, see how it is, all right? So I did, as you can see, I already peeled some of the wax off. Usually the wax takes the longest amount of time to take off. And I didn't want this video to just be a video about taking wax off a bottle. So nice cracking sound there. Smells delicious. I don't know if you can see that, but it is very red. Pretty, well, actually it's almost a reddish brown. It's kind of hard to see with this lighting, but well, let me turn on the white lights here. Got this orange going, but let's turn on white. There, I always see a little bit better there. So kind of a reddish brown color, but looks amazing. Smells very oaky. A lot of oak flavor, or oak smells coming from it. That is very interesting. I was honestly expecting it to be a little more sour. And I don't know if that's from the aging, but it is not very, it doesn't have that pucker factor that sours usually have. This is very interesting. A lot of cherry. I get a lot of cherry from it. It's sweet. It is almost like a drier dessert wine. That's the best way to describe it. If you ever had dessert wine, it's very similar to that. Very, very interesting. That is, wow. That's got some different flavors to it. A little, you know, a little fruity, a little sweet. The sour isn't there for me, which kind of is disappointing because I'm a big sour fan. So with it not being sour there, you know, but it's still a good beer. It is 10.9%, so it is a high alcohol content there. And 21 IBUs, which we talked in the previous video, is international bitter units, kind of the bitterness of it, which there's not much bitterness to it. So usually I look at IBUs when I look at IPAs. So let's get into some vocab here. So basically, I'm going to start with what beers you might hear me talk about, drink, whatever. So first off, I'm going to kind of go light to dark, make it pretty easy for you. So first we're going to start out with lagers slash pilsners. Those are going to be your light style beers. Non-craft beer side, you're looking at Bud Light, Miller Lite. Craft beer side, you know, the biggest one right now is Solid Gold from Founders. It's their premium lager. It's got a little bit of hop to it, but nothing crazy. But it still is that light, refreshing beer. But that's going to be kind of your lager pills. Now that might be your starting point for somebody that likes their Miller Lite, Bud Light, whatever, but, wants to kind of dabble in the craft beers. Next up, we're going to have blonde ales. They're going to be very similar to pilsners and lagers. They're a little bit hoppier sometimes. So you might get a little more hoppiness out of it, but nothing too crazy. But they're still going to be very light, very refreshing. Not overly hoppy. You might hear me talk about shandies. Shandies are sometimes with blondes or lagers or pilsners. But basically, shandies are a beer combined with lemonade. And you might hear different sorts of shandies. So, there's like soft parade shandy. It's blueberries, raspberries, and a couple other berries, and lemonade and beer. So that's another one. Summer shandy, which is Leinenkugel, which Leinenkugel I wouldn't consider craft beer because they are owned by Big Beer. So, I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to get into that whole debate. But, that is summer shandy is a shandy. It's beer and lemonade. Basic. So next we're going to move on to wheat ales. If you're from Michigan, you pay attention to craft beer, the biggest wheat ale that we have in Michigan is Oberon. Wheat ales are one big in the summer. So like I said, Oberon, you got Whitsun from Arcadia, kind of the bigger beers if you're not, sure about it. You got Shock Top, you got Blue Moon. So there's other, and you're going to hear me talk about the basics for beer here. There are other subsets to all these beers, and I can make a video on that too. If you want to know about the subsets of all the beer, we can do that too. But this is kind of the basic stuff. So wheat ales, you got Oberon, and then you got Belgian wheat ales too, which is going to be like your Blue Moon. But wheat ales, I always tell people Oberon. Oberon's a wheat ale. That's pretty simple. An American wheat ale. It's going to be kind of you're going to get that weedy flavor to it. Not very hoppy for the most part. You might get a little hop taste in there, but not overly hoppy for the most part. They are, they're solid summer beers. People make a winter wheats too, or that type of thing, which again, another subset to this. So yeah, those are kind of wheat ales. So next we have pale ales. Now pale ales are going to be a lighter beer, but they're going to have more hop to them. It's kind of that in between going from a pilsner, lager, blonde ale into maybe an IPA, which IPAs we'll get into. So pale ales, they're light, still semi-refreshing, usually within the 5% range. But still, you're going to get more hoppiness out of it. You're going to get more of that floral hop taste in your mouth. So that's pale ales. Next, we're going to talk about IPAs. So IPAs, Indian Pale Ale. So the reason an IPA is called an IPA is because they are basically, I'll basically say IPAs are a more beefed up, hopped up pale ale. So there's more hops in it, usually a higher ABV than a pale ale. But the reason an IPA is an IPA or called an Indian Pale or India Pale Ale is because they were popular with the troops, the English troops that were stationed in India in the 19th century. And that's the beer they had there. It was a more hopped up pale ale. They called it a pale ale, but then it kind of got the term, or coined the term, India Pale Ale, because they're like, well, we want that pale ale that we had in India. So that's how an IPA came to be. Now, like I said, there's subsets of beers. So, you know, you got IPA, you got double IPA, you got triple IPA. A double and triple usually means more hops, higher ABV. So, and then IPAs definitely have a ton more, you know, subsets to them. You know, you got New England IPAs, you got West Coast, you got American, you got English. So you got a lot of different IPAs. I won't get into the subsets now, but just remember, I can make a video on all these subsets, so that way you guys can kind of know what these other subsets are to these beers. But yeah, that's basically what an IPA is. Then you got brown ales. This is getting a little darker now. You're a little darker than IPA. So literally the color is brown, hence meaning brown ale. It's going to be a little more maltier. It's going to have a little sweetness to it. Sometimes almost a coffee flavor or kind of a roasted flavor to it. Sometimes it can be smoky too, which we'll get into these kind of flavor describers next. So brown ales are probably one of my favorites because that means fall's coming, and fall's my favorite time of year. Brown ales are awesome. They're so good. They are, you know, almost can get people into craft beer more than what a lager or, you know, a pilsner or anything like that could do. So definitely if you can get your hands on a decent brown ale, do it. Bel Air Brown from Shorts is one of my favorite brown ales. Also, you know, getting into another subset of a brown, Imperial Brown. Texas Corners Brewing Company has a Buffalo Brown is what they call it. It's an Imperial brown ale. It is delicious. I love it. It is so good. I highly recommend it. And then the Dissident, as we were talking about, said that it was a Flanders style brown ale. So another subset of brown ale. So like I said, there's subsets of all these beers. These are just the main types. Next, we're going to get into my dog, Porter. I'm just kidding. My dog's name is Porter. Hence that. So porters are going to be darker beers. They're going to be darker than brown ales. They're going to be almost black, you know, that stout color, which we're going to get into stouts next. So porters can be a little bit thinner body than a stout. They've, again, got that kind of roasted chocolate flavor, dark chocolate, a little bit of bitterness to it. You know, a lot of the times it gets, there's coffee versions, there's vanilla versions. You know, porters and stouts, and sometimes browns too, get a lot of different variants. Again, we'll get into those terms in a minute. So porters are probably, you know, those are another one that you could almost, if you got a coffee drinker, you got somebody that likes coffee, they might be able to get into porters. Then, obviously, like I said, we're going to get into stouts. Stouts are dark, heavy beers. They are, for the most part. And like I said, there are subsets to this. So stouts have a lot of subsets. Usually, you don't see breweries just making a stout. Usually, it's a milk stout, or an imperial stout, or a Russian imperial stout. They usually aren't just stouts, or oatmeal stout. That's another big one. So you're not gonna see just a stout. It's gonna be a stout, a type of stout brewed with something. Stouts are not notoriously, because I love stouts. Some people don't like stouts. There's a lot of people that actually don't like stouts. I'm a big stout guy. So, you know, a lot of people like you know, a lot of people use these different variants in stouts. So, you know, we'll get into that. Next up is sours. So sour beers, which I thought this beer was gonna, you know, the Dissident was gonna be very sour-like. It's still good. It's still really good. So sours are going to be, what's the best way to put it? They're going to be very tart. Going to give you that pucker factor in your mouth. You're going to, like if you had a sweet tart or something, or not a sweet tart, like sour Skittles or anything like that. That's what. So sours are actually a unique kind of beer. They actually don't use yeast. They use bacteria. I know it sounds weird, but sours use bacteria, and that's what gives it that sour flavor, that sour kind of puckerness to it. So they're unique with that, and that I love sours. And again, sours have a lot of different subsets. Old Bruin, Flanders, you know, you got Gozas, G-O-S-E. If you've seen G-O-S-E, that's a Goza. That's how it's pronounced, is Goza. They are very unique and good beers. I highly recommend just trying one. Not everybody's going to like them, but I highly recommend just trying one. They are really, really good. So yeah, the bacteria gives it that sourness. So I know it sounds weird, but sours also have to be brewed on a separate system from any other beer that you brew because it uses bacteria. If that bacteria gets in with all the other brewing systems, it could end up ruining all your beers that you brew on that system after that, because it can infect them because it's bacteria. So if you're home brewing, you don't know that, just throwing that out there. I'm not saying I'm an expert. I just have been informed. Just throwing that out there. So kind of the last one I'm going to talk about is barley wines. So barley wines are a type of strong ale, which I guess I should explain strong ale. Strong ales are going to be, they're hard to explain. They're caramely. They're usually a little bit higher ABV. You know, there's a lot to do with strong ales, and I'm not going to get into them a whole lot because they're not a very popular, you know, variety of beer. But barley wines are a type of strong ale that are usually very high in ABV, very high in that, you know, 10% or more. But they're delicious. I mean, they really are. They're not for everybody. I will say that right now. They are not for everybody, but you know, they are a good beer. Very caramely. You're gonna get some caramel notes to it. You know, rarely ever will you have hoppiness out of it. Most of the time they're barrel aged as well. So we're gonna get into these terms here. So we got dry hopped, which I explained in a video previous to this, but dry hopped means that the hops are added to the secondary fermentation. Now, I'm not going to get into the brewing process because that's a whole nother video if we want to do that. Basically, they take hops, they put it in the secondary fermentation, dry hopped. Most of the time, that makes a beer pretty hazy, which brings us to, you know, your New England IPAs, that type of stuff. Again, subsets, not going to get into it. You're going to hear me say hoppy, which just means you're going to taste the hops in it. You're going to get that floral kind of taste. So that's what I kind of mean by hoppy. Bitter, kind of self-explanatory, but you're going to get a bitter kind of bite in the back. Most IPAs, American IPAs, West Coast IPAs, are going to end bitter. I like my IPAs to finish smooth, so... roasted, I kind of was saying this with brown ales and you know, porters. They are roasted is basically you're gonna taste kind of a roasted malt, almost like you're toasting oats, you know, that type of thing. You're gonna taste kind of a it kind of goes along with being chocolatey too. So kind of a hard one to describe, but smoky, literally what it means, smoky. You're going to taste smoke. It's going to have some smoke flavor to it. That No Rules beer that I drank on my first stream, I have a Scotch barrel version of that. That is going to be smoky, or some people say peaty if you're a Scotch fan. But yes, it is going to be smoky. So it's going to have that smoked flavor, almost like you're smoking meats. When I say oaky, like I said with this beer, you're going to taste that kind of oak barrel. If it's been barrel aged in an oak type barrel, you're going to taste that oak. And a lot of your taste comes from your smell. So what you're smelling is kind of what you're tasting. So when you taste the oak, it's probably because you're smelling the oak. Just throwing that out there. We got barrel aged. Literally what it means, take a beer, pull it out, you put it in a type of barrel. This one being a French oak wine barrel. You got stouts that are aged in bourbon barrels. You got Scotch barrels. You got just regular oak barrels. You know, you have a wide variety of barrels, and this is getting big as barrel aging beers. I mean, it's been big, but it's getting bigger, and they're messing around with different and new beers to barrel age. So, you know, they're not for the faint of heart. You know, if you don't like bourbon, you don't like that type of stuff, don't drink it. But barrels can definitely change the flavor, up the ABV. You know, a beer can go from 6% to 10% because it was barrel aged. So just be warned by that. You got adjuncts, which are kind of flavor adding into a beer. So you got CBS from Founders. Their adjunct is maple. You know, it's a maple syrup bourbon barrel that they use. You get a lot of maple out of that. So coffee, vanilla, peanut butter, whatever. Those are adjuncts. Variants kind of go along with adjuncts because you get different types of beer. You get different types of, you know, flavors in beers. So, you know, being variants, no rules. I had the no rules Scotch barrel. That's a variant. It's a Scotch barrel aged one. Bourbon County from Goose Island. They do Bourbon County. They do the Bourbon County barley wine. They do the Bourbon County Profiteers. They do Bourbon County Northwoods. I mean, there's a bunch of different types of it. So that's going to be variants. And then last but not least, I have here reserves or variants. This being a 2016 reserve, it means it was brewed or it was bottled 2016. You know, vintage kind of goes with the same thing. You know, it's when it was bottled. And you know, I've got a lot of vintage beer over here in my closet that you can't see. So you know, I've got a lot of different ones from different years. I think my oldest is 2013, so that will be coming soon. We'll see. But yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to talk to you guys about today. I hope you enjoyed this little vocab lesson. You know, if you have any questions, suggestions, anything like that, you let me know. You know, if you want to see more about, you know, these subsets of beers, you know, different types of beers, that type of thing, let me know. I'll make a video and I'll see if I can find a beer that you want to know more about the subset, and I'll try it for you. You know, let me know. I'm open to suggestions. But I figured this would be kind of a nice kind of segue into trying different beers, just to let you know what I'm drinking, what you can expect, kind of the terms that I'm going to use. So I thank you guys so much for the support recently. It has been awesome. You know, the streams have been a lot of fun. Get ready for more. I am officially off orientation at work, so now I'm going to be on the schedule. So I'm going to probably either today or tomorrow, I'm going to work on a stream schedule, and I'll post it on the social medias. I'll probably put it at the end or beginning of one of my other videos. And I totally forgot as I'm recording this, I have a new intro. Let me know what you think about the new intro video. I'm pretty hyped for it. I think it looks awesome, but you guys let me know what you think. And again, thank you so much for the support. If you're new to the channel, like the video, subscribe if you're not subscribed, hit the little notification bell so that way you know when I upload a new video. And you know, I'm looking forward to making some more videos. So thank you guys so much, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.